During the summer of 1916, the British and French armies attacked astride the River Somme in what has become a notorious and controversial battle for many reasons. Despite the tragedy of the first day, there were many moments of victory throughout the 5-month campaign, and it was the blooding of the British Army. Although there are many misconceptions about the campaign, the British Army emerged out of it with a new approach to warfare, including developments in the use of artillery, aircraft and infantry tactics. The change in infantry tactics in particular was supported by the introduction of new battlefield weapons, such as the Lewis gun, the Mills bomb and rifle grenades. In February the following year, the British Army Stationary Service produced a training pamphlet SS143, Instructions for Training Platoons for Offensive Actions 1917. In the pamphlet, the new training techniques devolved command from battalion, as had been the tradition, all the way down to platoon, with junior officers taking on a far greater role in decision making. SS143 separated the platoon into 4 sections: riflemen, bombers, rifle grenadiers and the Lewis gunners. The effect of this was to create an almost autonomous unit on the battlefield that could deal with German strongpoints. In effect, it created a stormtrooper training manual that was disseminated across the entire British Army. Fire support came from the Lewis section, while local artillery was provided by the rifle grenadiers. As these 2 sections kept the enemy fixed in place, the bombers and rifles would move to the flank and attack at close quarters, clearing out enemy positions. In this game, a Through the Mud and Blood by the Too Fat Lardies, I will demonstrate the use of SS143 as a tactical doctrine to achieve victory. Through the Mud and Blood is a First World War skirmish game driven by card activation with an emphasis on the use of big men to command the troops. In this scenario, set during the Third Battle of Ypres in 1917, a British platoon will attempt to attack and destroy a German position, dominated by a machine gun and supported by 2 sections. All units begin a game of Through the Mud and the Blood on blinds, which means they have not yet been spotted by the enemy. The opponent doesn't know which blind represents which enemy unit, but it also means that blinds move faster than men who have been spotted. On the turn of the first card, the British draw their blinds, meaning they may activate them, and they push forward with the Lewis gun moving towards a small rise ready to give covering fire. They also move forward their rifle grenadier blind to provide more cover in the centre and remain out of sight of the German lines. On the flank, the riflemen and bombers move forward with the cover of the trees to get closer to the German trenches. The next card drawn is a time for a snifter card, which ends the turn. However, anything that hasn't activated yet may do so, so the Germans deploy a section on their right flank of the trench to face the incoming threat of the British infantry. Now that the Germans have deployed a unit, the big man commanding that section has his card added to the deck, along with any associated command cards. Then the discard pile and the rest of the cards are all shuffled together and the turn begins again. Drawing their blinds card again, the British are able to deploy their Lewis gun before the Germans have a chance to act. They also seize the chance to deploy their rifle grenadiers, who are in a strong position to begin bombarding the German front lines, while the Lewis gun lays down a suppressing fire. Taking aim at the Germans in the trench, the fire from the Lewis gun and the rifle grenades causes a few casualties and shock on the defenders. As the British are still operating on their blind card, they are able to advance the riflemen and bombers, using the cover of the trees to get onto the wire in front of the German positions and be ready for an attack. The next card turned is a snifter card, ending the turn. The Germans on the flank use their actions to spot the British bombers and rifles. Meanwhile, they also deploy the second section and the machine gun in their trench. They fire at the Lewis gun section, which takes a few hits and shocks, but it's nothing too serious. More fire from the rifle grenadiers causes more casualties on the Germans holding the flank, and then the bombers rush forward to attack the position. In the confines of the trench, the grenades are deadly, and the Germans lose the close combat, along with many casualties, and they flee the front lines. This part of the trench is now clear, but the bombers also took casualties themselves. The British riflemen now take the lead into the empty trench, leapfrogging past the bombers who have paused to catch their breath. Leading rifles from the front, the sergeant charges them down the trench line and directly into the flank of the German machine gun. More fire from the Lewis gun section and the rifle grenadiers causes heavy casualties on the machine gun crew, whilst the British rifles prepare themselves for another close assault. The machine gun is unable to swing to the right in time, and the British riflemen go in with their bayonets. The machine gun is overrun and destroyed, but the riflemen also take casualties in the fight. The British rifle section has taken heavy casualties, but there is only one German section remaining. Now facing both the Lewis gun and rifle grenadiers, along with the remains of the rifles and the bomber sections, the Germans begin evacuating the position, leaving the British infantry in control of the German front line. Using the tactical doctrines laid out in SS143, the British infantry were able to use their close support weapons to hold the Germans in place, whilst their infantry and bombers attacked and destroyed the German flank and machine gun strongpoint. Using Through the Mud and the Blood to recreate these kind of small-scale actions that happened throughout the First World War is a great way to get a flavour of the period, and one that is not explored by many wargamers. Hopefully this video has shown you that the First World War wargaming can both be fun and exciting when recreating battles on the tabletop. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and also check out my Patreon.